She doesn't love the nice guy. She loves the man she cannot control. Let that burn for a second. You've been lied to. Fed bedtime stories dressed as dating advice. Told to be kind, to be vulnerable, to open up. But here's the savage truth no one dares to say. Women don't test weak men. They test the strong, to see if they can break them. And if you're failing those tests, you're not being loved. You're being sized up. You're being disqualified. You ever notice how she pulls away when you give more? Why the more available you become, the colder she gets? That's not random. That's design. Because power is the only language the subconscious respects. And the moment you start playing by her rules, you forfeit the game. But this video isn't for the faint-hearted. This is for men ready to rip the mask off modern dating, to step into the shadows where dominance, strategy, and silence rule the throne. You're not here to be liked. You're here to become untouchable. Let me show you how. The first rule is simple and brutal. Never out-emotion a woman. Ever. She'll cry. She'll rage. She'll go silent for days. But the moment you start mirroring her emotional chaos, you're finished. Because the masculine loses all value the moment it becomes reactive. Picture this. You text her something vulnerable, honest. You think, this will show her I care. And what happens? She withdraws. Your words hang in the air like a desperate scent. You just showed her that her moods dictate your stability. You think you're bonding. She sees weakness. Not because she's evil. Not because she's heartless. Because on a primal level, a woman is drawn to the man she cannot shake. The man who doesn't flinch, doesn't beg, doesn't spiral when she goes cold. You want to be high value? Control your emotions like a general walking through a battlefield. Let her rage. Let her ghost. You stay still. Like a mountain. Like death. Because when she sees that nothing she does moves you, she either levels up, or she leaves. Either way, you win. But it gets darker. There's a second rule. One they pray you never learn. Use her projection against her. Here's what I mean. Every woman projects fantasies, fears, and stories onto the man she's with. She'll accuse you of being distant, secretive, dangerous, even if you've done nothing. But here's the Machiavellian twist. You let her believe it, and then, you become it. You feed the projection, slowly. You become the mystery she swore you were. You cultivate the danger she sensed. Why? Because what she fears, she respects. What she can't explain, she obsesses over. Too many men try to clarify themselves. I'm not like that. I'd never hurt you. I'm just misunderstood. No. Let her mind do the work. Let her imagination spiral in the silence. Because in that space she creates a version of you that no amount of effort could ever build. The moment you defend yourself, you collapse the myth. You become known. And what's known is boring. You want to dominate the psychological game? Never explain. Never chase. Just amplify the mystery she created. Let her drown in it. But we're just getting started. There's a reason your instincts have been chained. A reason you've been trained to betray them. Because a man in control of his image, his energy, his shadow, is a threat to everything. The system doesn't want men like you awake. They want you docile, obedient, apologizing for your power. But that ends here. You're no longer the nice guy waiting to be chosen. You're not reacting to her moods like a child. You're becoming the one who commands the storm, not drowns in it. And the deeper we go, the darker it gets. There are strategies she doesn't even know she's using. But you will. Because now, you're not just playing the game. You're rewriting it. You think you know what attraction is. You think dominance is about being loud. You're wrong. And in the next breath, you'll see why. You don't beat manipulation with love. You beat it with indifference and control. By now, you're starting to understand something most men never will. This isn't about becoming more likable. It's about becoming untouchable. A woman's games aren't childish or random. They are tests. Calculated moves, sometimes conscious, sometimes deeply subconscious. To measure your strength, your emotional control, your frame. And if you crack, even once, she'll never see you the same again. That's why the next rule in Machiavellian dominance is this. Control the frame or be swallowed by hers. Let me explain. Every interaction is a battle for psychological territory. Either your reality dominates, or hers does. And here's what they'll never tell you. Most men walk into a woman's frame the moment they try to impress her. The moment you chase, qualify, over-explain. You've entered her kingdom. And in that moment, you've become disposable. Because the man who dances to her rhythm becomes predictable. Predictability is weakness. Weakness is boring. And boredom is death. But a high-value man? He never explains. He never justifies. He leads. He decides the tone of the conversation. He sets the emotional climate. If she's cold, he doesn't react, he turns colder. If she tests, he doesn't defend, he smirks and lets the silence burn. Because he knows. Power isn't loud. Still. That's the paradox. The more emotion you show to prove your worth, the less value you radiate. Women don't crave men who respond to pressure. They crave men who create it. And here's how you do it. You speak slowly. You pause intentionally. You never rush to fill the silence. You let her feel your lack of need. That's presence. That's dominance. Now let's go deeper. Rule 3. Master the art of controlled detachment. This is where most men crumble. Because they confuse love with attachment. They believe caring means surrendering their edge. And that's exactly how they lose her. Let me give you a bitter truth. A woman is most obsessed with you when she's not sure she has you. This isn't cynicism. It's nature. The mind fixates on what it cannot fully possess. And the moment she feels you're emotionally dependent, that you need her to feel stable, whole, validated, you've surrendered the crown. But the high-value man? He flips the script. He gives affection without addiction. He shows desire without desperation. He walks away without hesitation. Because his center isn't her. It's himself. That's what they feel. That's what shakes them. Not your words. Your detachment. Let me show you how it works. You're with her. Things are intense. You feel the pull, the fire, the dopamine, the illusion of forever. But then she pulls back. Tests you. Delays replies. Mentions another man casually. This is where 99% of men fail. They panic. Double text. Overinvest. Try to fix what was never broken. Not you. You smile. You vanish. You return to your path with ruthless focus. No blame. No explanation. You send a single invisible message. I don't chase. I replace. And that energy, it haunts her. Because in a world of men who beg, cry, plead, your silence is deafening. She rethinks, reframes, regrets. You didn't just pass her test. You rewrote the rules. And now she's not just attracted. She's hooked. But there's another level. One deeper, darker. And it's this. Sometimes, a woman will try to destroy your frame just to feel something. Not because she hates you, but because she fears you. Fears your power. Fears your emotional independence. Fears your calm, surgical logic. So she'll try to provoke emotion. Jealousy. Anger. Doubt. Because if she can make you react, then maybe, just maybe, you're not as unshakable as you appear. Your response? None. Not rage. Not sarcasm. Not passive aggression. Just cold clarity. You listen. You observe. You exit, mentally, emotionally, if needed, physically. You make it clear. If peace costs your power, then peace is too expensive. And in that moment, she realizes, you're not a boy playing alpha. You're the real thing. The kind of man she can't manipulate, only submit to. Because now you've mastered the sacred edge. Detached presence. Focused attention. Uncompromising boundaries. And that's when the game ends. Because you're no longer dancing around her fire. You've become the flame itself. The man returns to his high rise. This time he's not watching the city. He turns away, walking deeper into shadow. Calm. Silent. Knowing. She doesn't control you anymore. Her tests are smoke. You are the fire. You thought this was about getting women. It never was. This is about becoming the kind of man they can never forget. Even when they try. By now you're not watching this because you're curious. You're watching because something ancient inside you has been stirred. A sleeping wolf, starving. And now that it's awake, you're beginning to understand. The true battle isn't against her games. It's against the man you've been trained to be. You were conditioned to apologize for your instincts. To feel guilt for your strength. To shrink your shadow so others wouldn't feel small in your presence. But let me remind you, wolves don't negotiate with sheep. And the moment you stop diluting yourself to be accepted, you become dangerous. Not reckless. Not abusive. Dangerous in the way that silence in a war zone is dangerous. Unpredictable. Focused. Untouchable. This is where we enter the fourth rule of Machiavellian dominance. A rule that feels almost unnatural at first. Reward her unpredictably. And watch her loyalty deepen. Human psychology is addicted to uncertainty. It's why casinos never go out of business. And women? They're wired to chase the high of inconsistent validation. Not because they're broken. But because unpredictability triggers obsession. You, on the other hand, were likely taught to give love in predictable doses. Good morning texts. Regular check-ins. The same routine gestures day in, day out. But here's the hard truth. Predictability breeds contempt. She'll never say it out loud. But inside, her desire for you quietly dies. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you've become too safe. The Machiavellian move? Give her nothing. Then give her everything. Then vanish. Send a message so potent it shakes her for days. And then disappear into your mission. This emotional rhythm doesn't push her away. It binds her. Because now, she's never sure when the next hit of your presence will come. She becomes emotionally invested. Mentally caught in a loop. Like a gambler one win away from the jackpot. But you are the house. And you always win. This isn't cruelty. It's precision. A man who is too available becomes a toy. A man who is too distant becomes irrelevant. But a man who controls the timing of his presence? He becomes her addiction. Now the final rule. The one so few dare to execute, because it requires an iron spine and a ruthless kind of clarity. Cut her off emotionally the moment she disrespects your frame. Understand this. A woman will test you not out of malice, but to find out if you're the kind of man who can lead. And if you flinch when she pushes, if you chase when she withdraws, she's not attracted. She's repelled. Because in that moment you've signaled to her subconscious, I will abandon my principles to keep you. And to her that's a red flag. A man who abandons himself for love can never be trusted. So you must have this rule carved into your DNA. The first sign of disrespect is the last moment of your emotional availability. Not anger. Not drama. Just withdrawal. Cold. Sure. Unapologetic. You shift your focus entirely onto yourself, your mission, your empire. You stop texting. Stop explaining. You let your absence scream what your words never could. And here's the twist. She'll feel it. Not just the distance. She'll feel the loss of your emotional presence like oxygen being cut off. And if she comes back, it's because she knows you cannot be disrespected. If she doesn't, you just avoided a lifetime of psychological warfare with someone who never valued your frame. Either way, you've won. Now take a breath. Because something deeper is unfolding here. Something most men never touch in their entire lives. You are becoming the rarest kind of man. The man who cannot be emotionally manipulated. The man who cannot be baited. The man who doesn't just date with confidence. He moves through the world with lethal clarity. You're no longer the boy wondering why his messages get ignored. You're the calculated strategist, watching the entire board while others chase crumbs. Your energy becomes expensive. Your time becomes sacred. Your presence becomes legend. And the transformation is irreversible. But what happens now? Now that you've internalized the tactics? The silence, the mystery, the absence, the unpredictability, the discipline? Now you're no longer reacting to the chaos. You are the chaos. The eye of the storm, still, centered, unshakable. And she feels it. Every woman you meet will feel it too. She may not be able to name it. But she'll sense that you're not playing the same game as the other men. Because you're not. You're building empires while they're writing paragraphs. And here's the final transformation. You're not afraid to be alone anymore. Because the high-value man knows. Power is not found in who keeps you company. Power is found in who you're willing to walk away from. If she doesn't meet your standard, you cut. If she doesn't match your energy, you vanish. You don't beg. You don't explain. You disappear like a ghost she'll never stop trying to summon. That's not just attractive. That's unforgettable. That's dominance. You're no longer the prey. You are now the strategist. The storm walks with you. And every step you take from here will echo into eternity. You feel it now, don't you? That pull. That cold fire running through your spine. You're shedding the skin of the old self. The pleasing self. The apologizing self. And rising from those ashes is the man who was always meant to lead. You didn't come here to learn how to win games. You came here to end them. From the very first word, something primal in you recognized the truth. You've lived too long as prey. Dancing around expectations, chasing approval, apologizing for your intensity. Taught to compromise when you should have conquered. Trained to appease when you should have dominated. But that part of you is gone now. Because once you've seen through the illusion, you never go back. No more pretending. No more softness masked as virtue. No more falling into traps built for boys who fear being alone. You are not one of them. You are not available. You are not safe. You are chosen. And from now on, you walk with a new kind of gravity. The gravity of a man who doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't flinch. Let them test you. Let them misjudge your silence as weakness. They'll learn slowly, painfully, that your calm is a storm held back by discipline. You've mastered the art of withdrawal. You've turned your attention into a weapon. You've learned how to disappear, not to escape, but to punish. This is a new chapter. A life where your standards are law, where your time is worshipped, where your presence is a privilege. You now speak the ancient language of power. Unspoken, uncompromising, undeniable. Let them mock you when you vanish. Let them talk when you say nothing. Let them wonder why they feel sick when you stop caring. Because they'll feel it. Oh, they will feel it. The absence, the void, the punishment of losing a man who doesn't need, but chooses. A man who can walk away with no hesitation, no tears, no drama, just silence, colder than winter. That's not detachment. That's self-respect. But this transformation, it's not just about women. It's about who you've become to yourself. The nights you spent leveling up in silence while others partied. The boundaries you built when your old self would have folded. The respect you demanded, first from yourself, then from the world. This isn't a pickup strategy. This is a warrior's code. The men who run this world aren't the loudest. They're not the ones who chase attention. They are the ones who move like shadows, think like assassins, and strike like lightning. You are now one of them. The world will try to shame this power, to convince you you're too harsh, too detached, too intimidating. But remember, the lion is not concerned with the comfort of the sheep. His roar is not an apology. It is a declaration. You are no longer a man who seeks to be understood. You are a man who must be respected or removed. So what now? Now, you build the empire, brick by brick, in silence, in discipline, in darkness. Because the kind of man you're becoming doesn't need to broadcast his moves. He lets the results speak with a voice louder than any argument. She'll come back one day. They all do. But you'll be a different animal. Colder, sharper, focused on a future that doesn't wait for anyone. The throne is not for the weak. It is for the man who looked heartbreak in the face and smiled, who walked through the fire and came out forged in steel. And now you wear the scars not as shame, but as armor, because the man who has suffered and risen is the most dangerous man alive. They thought you were soft. They thought you would break. They thought you needed them to feel whole. They were wrong. Now you're the one they dream about at 2 a.m., the one they can't replace, the one they fear and crave, because you became what they were never ready for. A man who masters himself first, then masters the game. Comment below if the fire's been lit inside you, and you know it's never going out. Like, subscribe, and watch the next video only if you're ready to ascend even higher. Fade to black. Ominous tones linger. The screen pulses once with a single word. Untouchable.